All right, good morning. You can see that Recon 1 is up on the jack stands. You can see that I have the wheels underneath the frame for safety, but basically my next project, and there's been plenty of videos done on it, is a Steer Smart track bar reinforcement bracket along with the attachment to strengthen the sector shaft. So going to be a fun project, should work out pretty well. I'm excited about it. Okay, my project starts today with installing the Steer Smart track bar reinforcement bracket along with sector shaft support. So my project today starts with 21 millimeter wrench on this nut right here. Obviously, I'm going to remove the bolt that holds the track bar to the frame, drop the track bar out of the way to then access that large nut on the bottom of the pitman arm. That nut has to come off. I think it's 33 millimeter. I'm not sure I have the right socket, but we'll try it with the large adjustable wrench. There we go. I'm gonna take a rubber mallet or a screwdriver and pry that track bar out. You can see the bolt's been removed. All right, in regards to that sector shaft nut, you can see there's a lock washer under it. So I didn't have the right socket. I think it's 33 millimeter, but with my 18-inch crescent wrench, I was able to get that loose, no problem. So I'm just gonna remove that nut. You can see that the track bar bolt has been removed and it's just hanging there out of the way. Okay, a nut, a lock washer, sector shaft, pitman arm. Stand by for the next step. All right, so Steer Smarts gives you this large washer. This will go over the sector shaft. Then you have this unique nut right here. It goes up on the sector shaft this way. You can see there is a groove cut for this snap ring at the end of the install. They recommend you using red Loctite, which I will. And then I believe this gets torqued to 180 or 185 foot-pounds. Okay, so you can see the washer on the sector shaft, the new nut, you can see the proper orientation, and that is a 41 millimeter deep socket. I had to purchase that. That's a strange one. So I'm going to get the ratchet in there and get that thing snug, then torque it to 185 foot-pounds. Okay, in my case, I just couldn't get the track bar down far enough, so I took the steering stabilizer off. I completely removed the track bar so that I can get in there and access this huge nut on the bottom of the sector shaft. Okay, so you can see that I loosely put the bolt in through the track bar on the axle side, and you can see the flag nut right there. So that's in the go position. Then you have this washer that goes on there, then the steering stabilizer. We'll do all of that later because obviously I'm going to, when I put the when I put the weight of the vehicle back on the track bar, then we'll torque this to 125 foot-pounds, then put the stabilizer on, and then of course torque the frame side to 125 foot-pounds. Okay, once again, there's the nut. You can see it's all Loctited on there. 180 foot-pounds, somewhere right around there, 180, 185. So now we'll be undoing these 4 bolts right here that go into the steering box. And you can see that the coil blocks those two. So I'm going to put a ratchet strap on this coil, attach it to one of those lally columns, and just pull the spring over a little bit. And then hit this with the impact gun, 18 millimeter, and remove all 4 of those bolts. All right, you can see the ratchet strap has pulled that coil over. I'm pretty sure I can get in there, hopefully. We'll find out shortly. right on the lally column right there. So just enough to get the coil spring out of the way of those bolts. And you can see it looks like I got to take one of the sway bar end links. I'm going to have to take this sway bar end link off right here. Drop this thing down a little bit. Son of a gun. Didn't expect that. Okay, kind of interesting. So what I ended up doing, you can see that I disconnected my sway bar electrically. So I put the e-brake on, put the transmission in neutral, put the vehicle, actually I put it in 4 low. Then I hit the sway bar, I heard it disconnect. So as you know, on a Rubicon, each side works independently now. So that clutch is open on the sway bar disconnect motor. So, okay, so the last bolt, I gotta get this bolt out right here. Okay, obviously with the 4 bolts, the steering box dropped down a little bit. You can see that. You can see the holes doesn't line up anymore. So the next thing I gotta do is I'm gonna take this piece off right there, the piece that strengthens the sector shaft, take the track bar bolt out that's in there, and then basically from the bottom up like this, use a rubber mallet and get that brace over the original track bar bracket that's welded to the frame. Okay, per the directions, this was pretty cut and dry. The bracket just came right up through. You can see the track bar is still out. It's just sitting there. I got the bolt through the original mount and the reinforcement bracket. And you can see that should line up okay. I can use a rubber mallet if needed. But so the next thing is going to be to, looks like they gave you some new bolts right here. They're probably a little longer. There's lock washers, a flat washer. I don't think you use any Loctite for these. And these, once you get them lined up, these get torqued to 70 foot-pounds. So the next thing I want to do is get those bolts through. Now, obviously from underneath, I'm going to have to come around here and lift this. I'm going to have to kind of lift this steering box up a little bit to get the bolt started. This part's probably going to be one of the harder parts. We'll see. Okay, taking the time. Obviously, I'm laying on my back here looking up. So obviously I was able to take my hand, push this up. And if you see way up in there, you can see that the upper bolt is caught. So I'm going to catch 3 more. So far, so good. Then I'll gradually ratchet those in, get the steering box back up against the inside of the frame, and then we'll torque them to 70 foot-pounds. Okay, I use the impact gun just to kind of snug them up light. Pretty happy with this. Going to put the 19 millimeter socket on this, get the torque wrench set for 70 foot-pounds, I believe, and torque these up. Okay, just a nice look at the brace installed on the stock brace. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is taking that bearing piece and using a rubber mallet and gently tapping it on that nut that comes out of the bottom of the sector shaft. And then there's a couple 13 millimeter head bolts that go into it with lock washers. We'll put a little bit of Loctite on it, and then we'll put a C-clip. So we'll see how it goes. Notice the little beveled end that faces downward, okay? So we're gonna start trying to work this thing on there. I'll get a little, not bad for starters. I'm gonna get my rubber mallet and gently tap that into place. Okay, I'm gonna bang steer smarts. First of all, nasty freaking burrs on the inside of this thing. I had to file. This has actually been extremely difficult to get this piece on right here. I don't know if some of their quality control isn't there, but for this, you can see I still have a long way to go. I'm using a rubber mallet. At least I somewhat have it on. The big problem has been the conflict with the metal right here in this piece. It's like it wasn't machined enough or something, so I used a file, a grinding wheel. I got rid of burrs, so I almost got that thing on, and then I can get the bolts in, but I still probably have another 1/4 inch to go. Okay, these are the bolts. There's one on each side that'll go in there. They got a little washer on them, little red Loctite, 13 millimeter head bolt. And I think they get torqued between 25 foot-pounds and 35. So let's see if I can get these things to line up. Okay, so you can see I'm just snugging these up. Again, have to tell you, a little disappointed with the struggle here. Hopefully everything is okay. I'm gonna go around and get the other bolt, then we'll torque them. There's red Loctite on them. We'll torque them to, I don't know, maybe 30 foot-pounds. And then we'll get that clip washer on the bottom of the nut underneath the sector shaft. You can see the groove right there that it goes in. Okay, the bolts are in. Here's the little clip washer right here. You can see the groove. I'm gonna expand that and put it on. Then I'm gonna get the torque wrench set up for 30 foot-pounds and torque both of those 13mm head bolts. Then at that point, I can get the track bar back installed. Okay, you can see the little clip washer in the groove. That's nice. Okay, 30 foot-pounds on the two bolts holding the brace that strengthens the sector shaft. Red Loctite on it. All right. Like I said, hopefully this helps me out. I don't think it can hurt, but I was a little disappointed in the quality and the fit. I think a little too much of a struggle. But anyway, let's see. Let's get that track bar in there, and then we can put the tires on, put the weight on the suspension, and then torque up the track bar to 125 foot-pounds on the frame end and the axle end, and then finish up the steering stabilizer and get that back on the tie rod. Okay, so track bar bolt is in on both sides. They are not torqued. You can see right there, that one's all set. It's got to be torqued once we put the weight of the vehicle on it. Then I can put the steering stabilizer back on. Not bad. So hopefully these last few steps goes pretty good, and we'll get these wheels back on. Okay, tires on. Lower control arms were torqued. Front lowers were a little loose, so retorque those to 125. You can see the steering stabilizer is back on. So we'll end up taking this thing for a ride shortly. Take a look at, you can see the bevel right there. You can see how close that is to the track bar. That's why it's beveled. They must know what they're doing. So let's zoom in there a little more. Okay, got the Jeep running out of the driveway. All right, the Jeep's driving well. She's driving tight. No strange noises, feels good. Yeah, hopefully this will help out. So many times I go off-roading and my steering wheel gets knocked off. Drives me crazy, really. It's been a problem I've had for a long time. My tie rod, I got a real beefy tie rod. I got a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch toe in, so I know that's good. It just seems like if I really wrench it or I go up against a tree or a rock, sure as shit, my steering wheel will be 15, 20 degrees off. Sometimes it's off enough to pop a code, and then I gotta straighten it out and take it for a ride and reset it with the flash cal. So hopefully things are just stronger now with this new sector shaft brace. So not bad. All right. Recon 2, Recon 1.